My name is Megan McCall, and I work with Brian Sokol at the St. Louis University in the United States. And today I'm going to be talking to you about a program that a group of researchers at our university developed in collaboration with some teachers and administrators from some local schools. The purpose of the program was to address a problem that is particularly salient within our city. That is, St. Louis, Missouri is one of the most racially and economically segregated metropolitan areas in the United States. So we wanted to develop a program that would provide children from communities marked by low racial integration with opportunities to interact in a genuine and meaningful fashion, as opposed to superficially, where they just meet and do an activity together at one point. We hope that such genuine and meaningful interactions would inspire an antipathy for racial inequality and would motivate the students to acquire a nascent sense of civic and moral agency related to issues of inequality. We began the process of pilot testing the program, which we called Readers to Leaders, or R2L, with two local schools. One school, De La Salle, serves roughly 65 6th through 8th grade students, and back home we call that middle school. So I'll be using the term middle schoolers. I'm not sure what the term is here. This school serves a community of a highly transitional and economically unstable part of the city. Many would call it a rough neighborhood, and all of the students at this school are African American. The other school, St. Gabriel's, is located in a more economically stable area, and it serves a predominantly white student body of approximately 450 kindergarten to 8th grade students. The program was based on a peer mentorship model, so that's pretty common. What we did that's a little different, though, is that we placed the marginalized students from De La Salle in leadership positions. Now, this is different because rather than being the recipients of charity, which they traditionally are, they were the volunteers, the actors. Specifically, each De La Salle student served as a reading and activity group leader for a small group of St. Gabriel 3rd grade students. So in general, one African American middle schooler was paired with about 4 or 5 mostly white 3rd grade students. The content of the program was centered on the current and historical experiences of African Americans, with particular emphasis on the civil rights movement. Historical and contemporary figures within the African American community were identified and discussed as exemplars of civic leadership and moral virtue. So in small groups, the children read historical picture books together, engaged in reflection questions regarding the virtues associated with leadership, and developed group projects and presentations about famous African American leaders. At the conclusion of the program, we needed to know how the middle schoolers experienced their involvement in the program. So we conducted a phenomenological qualitative analysis on the text of student journals to ascertain in what ways R2L supported the middle school students' development, in what ways R2L encouraged future civic agency, what the students learned about leadership, and how they experienced diversity. Our analysis of the journals indicated that the R2L programs helped the students to develop personally, socially, and academically. Specifically, the journals often contain references to improved self-confidence and attitude change, where attitude change was described both in terms of the psychological definition of attitudes as emotionally imbued beliefs, as well as in the colloquial sense, that is, the stance one takes when interacting with others. So for instance, in regards to the first definition of attitude, a student indicated, "I learned that some people might be different, but if you get to know the person more, you realize that you have a lot in common." But they also made statements in regards to the second type, such as, "It helped me to get rid of my attitude and think positive instead." Next, we found that the students reported academic improvement associated with their involvement in R2L, as well as a feeling of inspiration associated with their intentions for future civic involvement. These plans and ideas were classified into several subcategories. The first regarded assuming duties or roles. Two examples of this include one student's statement that, with R2L coming to an end, I will be even a better leader. Instead of leading third graders, I will lead people my age to do right, not wrong. And another student's statement that I can do more service learning and lead assembly. So what's interesting here is that all of the responses in this category, which I can't list for you, but were situated in the child's immediate environment. So although they were apparently motivated to assume additional responsibilities, the roles that they identified that they would like to take on were located within their school, their immediate neighborhood, and their own home. So they might say something like, I would help an elderly neighbor. Or I might do the dishes every night. So their sense of responsibility to others expanded, but within a seemingly restricted way. It is important to note that this may be because they seem to not pay attention to differences in socioeconomics. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Another sub-theme that we found within the future agency category was interpersonal behavior change. Here, students made comments such as, I will use my leadership skill in the future by being kind to people that I may not get along with, and I will treat people how I want to be treated. So they recognize these skills as necessary to both being leaders and leaders within their own social roles as students. And the final sub-theme within this civic agency development category was becoming a role model. This theme was expressed in many ways, but my personal favorite was, I will be a leader by finishing college. So as a role model to others in their community, that will take that on. So many of the students indicated that they felt empowered by their leadership roles in R2L. They reported they felt pride in their ability to help others acquire knowledge and self-confidence. Moving on to their experience of diversity, we found that we categorized responses into 4 categories. One was diversity as an asset, similar yet different, attention to racial diversity, and attention to age or physical size differences. So as I alluded to earlier, you will notice that there's no reference to socioeconomic differences in any of these categories. There were no references whatsoever to this in student journals, and anecdotally, when we asked the students what they noticed about the neighborhoods surrounding St. Gabriel's, they didn't indicate that they noticed markers of inequality such as cleaner streets, larger homes, and so on. So we don't think that they actually perceived this difference. But returning to the categories that were identified, students reportedly found that those with differential life experiences possessed unique strengths that contributed to group effectiveness. So diversity represented a uniqueness of experience that was not extreme enough to limit their ability to relate to others of different backgrounds, but also was a source of strength that was something to be embraced and not ignored. So that's what we have at this